Ah, yes, hello, dears. This is the ninth Dimensional Pleiadian Collective, and it is a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to connect with you all. So it's quite a full house here. There are many, many guides, many angelic support teams that are present for those that are listening in the now moment here with us. And those that will listen from your perspective into a future moment. It doesn't really matter. Your guides are showing up in the now time. And for those that we're not able to communicate directly with, know that any questions that you have, that you're posing right now, those questions will be answered, even if they're not directly from us, that you're hearing us through Wendy's voice. We will do our very best to put the information in your path until you get it or you no longer want it. So we do want to talk in just a moment more about the masculine and feminine energy, but we would stop here and say hello, Loren, and see if there's anything you'd like to address before we dive into that.
Well, thank you. We are so pleased to have you here. I'm certain I am not the only one who can feel a higher frequency. So thank you for being here. We would love your insight on how we can transcend the current earth energies, of how we handle feminine and masculine energies so we can take it to a divine level.
So as Wendy was saying, we like to talk about it in terms of your process of creation. And too often the feminine is what is not being addressed, all right? It's been suppressed for thousands of years on the planet, so it's a more challenging energy sometimes for you all to embody because there's still a lot of judgment about it. And it is feminine energy is just as powerful and potent as masculine energy, and you need both to really run your full power. So in terms of the manifestation process, is vital that you get into a receptive state first. In the linear perceived reality, the progression of time, the feminine always comes first. From the multidimensional level, where no time exists, both coexist and are expressed simultaneously. But when you get down to your 3D level and you're parsing it out in time, the feminine always has to come first. So even if you're not conscious that you're using feminine energy, you have to in order to manifest anything. But when you want to start consciously manifesting, you have to consciously put your energy into the feminine state. So to do that, one of the fastest ways to get into the balanced state first, and that allows you then to more readily access both feminine and masculine energy, is to put yourself in your heart center. To think of something that puts a smile on your face. It's really as simple as that. And we would invite you all to think of something now. We often recommend animals, baby animals in particular, because they instantly put a smile on your face. And typically when you all get to that space, you're going to feel warm and tingly, a bit uplifted. You'll have a little more energy. If you're having a challenging day, it may take just a little bit more time for you to access that potency of it, but if you keep at it and just keep imagining, you start moving into that heart-centered space, and that's the first step. And then as you open and allow energy to come in, that's you putting yourself in the feminine. You're allowing ideas and inspiration to come through, and then you make a selection. You say, I would like to experience this particular frequency. I'd like to experience joy right now. Or I would like to choose an adventure. All right? I want to have a sensation of adventure. And so you make that vibrational selection. And you shift then from the feminine into the masculine, where you are pulsing the frequencies out. Your field is resonating, and that wave of energy emanates out. And that's the divine masculine moving outward. And then you move back into a feminine state, a receptive state again, to observe, to say, where are things? Where is my energy? What is the energy in front of me? All right? You're in observance. You're in a receptive state as it's being reflected back to you, the energy that you pulsed out. And then you say, there's that adventure I wanted. I see it over there. or, here's the frequency of happiness or the frequency of joy that I wanted to experience. And then you move back into the masculine state again to step out to interact with it. And this is how you operate with the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy. It is in alignment with the heart center. What you all term as just simple masculine feminine energy, those are qualities that you have assigned to a gender. That you say, the feminine is passive. The feminine is weak. All right, you exist in a polarized universe, and so everything's got its opposite. And some of those things go into the column that feminine gets put under as well, and all those get the feminine quality. All right, you say, oh, well, that's a feminine quality. The emotions, that's feminine. It's just a polarized. It's just a polarized expression, but it's not always solely to what you would think of as the feminine being, all right? Whether you've got a masculine body or a feminine body, male or female, you have to embody both qualities. You have to in order to express all of your divine power. To exclude one or have a judgment about anything is going to lessen your ability to access power, all right? It's like if you think about an old pipe where dirt starts to build up on the inside of the pipe, not as much water can run through. Well, those old limiting thoughts, those judgments, are like the muck on the inside of the pipe. And when all of that residue is there, the water can't flow as freely. There's not as much volume that gets through the pipe, and it's the same thing in your energetic field. All right? So that's kind of a broad, quick overview of what we term the divine masculine and the divine energy. It's how the process of creation is used. That's the divine aspect of it. All right? And when you're in the heart center, that's when it becomes divine. When you're up in the head, that's what we would term where all the thoughts, the judgments, the ego exists. That's what you would term the regular masculine feminine energy. As soon as you move it into the heart, that's when you start activating the divine essence of those polarized conditions. All right? We hope that helps.
It helps. Thank you very much. We've got many more questions for you. For those, there's some questions coming in about this divine feminine and the divine masculine. And maybe you can talk a little bit about those who feel the divine masculine as a twin or a twin flame. Can you elaborate on this? Is this divine masculine and feminine part of our nature? And how does that relate to what some know as twin flames?
All right. So, yes, the divine masculine and the divine feminine is part of your nature. You cannot have one without the other within you, because you as a being of light, you're not a gender. All right? You are both. You are unified and whole. And as such, you're expressing both of those conditions in the masculine or feminine body. And it doesn't really matter. You will pull in someone who is a mirror for you, where you have strengths and weaknesses, all right, where you are polarized. And, this is why you have partnerships. Your partner, if you run a lot of feminine energy and your partner runs a lot of masculine energy, you really are working to help balance each other out. It's not that you're meant to be two halves coming together to create a whole. This is about both of you being whole and complete within yourselves and learning this. Now, with the terminology twin flame, we're not a fan. We really, really are not a fan of those terms, because we think that they perpetuate this idea that you are only half a being. And if you haven't found your twin flame, then you are damned to be half a being. And this is also one of the belief systems that is so damaging, especially for women, in your belief that if you haven't found a partner, then you have very little value. Part of why we say this is particularly damaging for women is because for so long, women were only seen to have value as mothers, all right, as wives and mothers. And if you weren't married, then you had very, very little value. So it's particularly damaging for women. So we would like to kind of shift you away from this idea of a twin flame, because there are many beings with whom you can have amazing relationships with, but the one that you have to have an amazing relationship with is yourself. Because all relationships will reflect to you the one that you have with self and source. And, again, external relationships are wonderful mirrors for you to show you where your internal work to do is. So try not to get too locked up into that idea of twin flames, because it sets up a lot of disappointment. And we want you all to be honest about that, because if you feel into it and you're someone who is either not in a relationship or you're in a relationship with someone that you say, oh, this isn't my twin flame, you experience disappointment. So we would redirect you to really strengthening the relationship you have with self and source, so that all relationships that you have can be loving and fulfilling, and you have a deep sense of connection. You can have an amazing connection with the person down at the coffee shop who is taking your order. You can feel that when you have a great internal relationship with yourself and source, because everything that you encounter is going to reflect that to you. And that's really important that you all master that lesson. Really, really important. And you're working on it. You're learning to love yourself. You're learning to speak kindly to yourself. All right? So we hope that helps.
Yes, and so in these times, that really is the number one lesson, to be that source of light from the love that we give ourselves. Okay, well, I'm going to read a few questions. Not a few questions, but I'm going to combine them as an overview so that you can give us more insight. So I'm going to combine about 6 questions here, and they are primarily, 1, how can we be at peace and ease? Do you have any recommendations or techniques with the increasing high vibrational energies that are streaming in right now? And on the flip side, we have people with questions about looking out into our world and seeing political turmoil, terrorism, injustice. I mean, we see politics. Someone said the energy of Trump is pretty scary. We have someone in Alberta talking about the wildfires, and there's a fear of massive reduction of human population. So with these fears and these high vibrations coming in, what advice or techniques can we do or use to be at peace and ease?
All right, so there's a lot of ground to cover with all of that, so we'll see what we can get to. Really, all of it is about being present in the moment, all right, being grounded and present. If you want to go through the ascension process, there are really only 2 things to do, and that's to be grounded and present. And if you do that, everything else takes care of itself. So let us kind of deconstruct that statement. So one of the ways that you can manage these high energies is to make sure you're grounded, because those of you that tend to be drawn to us, to connect with us, those that are stellar-oriented, have a very difficult time wanting to connect with the planet. They have a very difficult time wanting to be in their body. And the results of that are low energy, and that you also have a disconnected sense, that you're not running full power. And it's a coping mechanism, a way for you not to really connect to the planet, allows you not to feel all the pain that's going on, because you haven't connected deeply enough to the pristine part of Mother Earth. You're kind of hitting the illusionary level of everybody's stuff, and you're going into contraction. So when you do that, you cut off the bottom chakras. If we were to look at you energetically, because the bottom chakras are closed, your energy isn't extending several feet down beneath your physical feet. If we look at your auric field, It's about mid-thigh level because it's not able to run all the way down. And when you really ground, you feel safer in your body and you feel more connected. You have more energy and you have greater clarity because you know what's going on. You can be aware of where you're vibrating. And if you're cutting off and not connecting to your body, you're not picking up half the signals that you're getting. And that was the whole point. You wanted to numb yourself a bit. So, as we said, it was a coping mechanism and it helped you to a point, but it's not going to work for you any longer where you all want to go, which is higher in frequency. You want to let go of the illusionary pain. And you do that by grounding and putting yourself in your heart center. Again, it doesn't require hours of meditation. It just requires you thinking of something that puts a smile on your face. You're literally changing operating systems. You're moving out of the head where all of your limiting thoughts and beliefs exist, and you're moving into the heart where there are no filters. Those egoic programs aren't running through the heart. The mind itself was set up to create the illusion of separation so that you could play in this illusionary game. You wanted to know, what would it be like if we could forget that we were part of source energy? What would it be like if we couldn't see what was about to happen, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, 3 days, 3 years from now? How would that change our decisions in the moment? And so you constructed this 3D game. And then you embodied, and you forgot who you are so you could have this illusion, so you could have this very special exploration of the now moment. So when you put yourself back in the heart center, you actually have access to multidimensional information. You release the pain that you're experiencing. Pain exists when you're operating at the egoic level, when you're operating through the mind, where you've got the judgments all set up, which brings us to the second part of this question. So when you look out into the world and you see what's going on, what is triggering you? What are you upset by? What are you judging externally? Because what you are judging in the collective experience is what needs to be released within you at the personal level. It may look very different on the surface than it does in your personal life, the way that you play it out and manifest it, but it's the same base frequency. Say, for example, control is an issue for you. You fear not being in control. So you look out to the world, you see what's going on, and you might say, all my civil liberties are being taken away. Or you might feel that there are those who want to control your world. Well, understand, when you look out at the collective level, this is happening because that's where the collective energy is at. You're observing it because that's where your personal energy is at. If you were not in alignment with that frequency, you would not be observing it at the personal level. It wouldn't even be on your radar. Or you'd look at it and you wouldn't be affected by it. You'd say, this is where everyone's at. Now, it's not to say that these things aren't going on. We're not saying that there isn't a lot of negative energy or that expression of energy going on, but it can't happen unless the collective is saying, this is where our energy is, and this is what we need the mirror to show us, to wake us up so that we can create personal change. So for you, at the personal level, as you're observing that you're triggered because you feel that everybody is being controlled and manipulated, then we would say, look within. Where are you trying to control and manipulate your own reality? Control is one of those sneaky little things that it can be very subtle. It can be very obvious in some ways. You're trying to get somebody to change their mind. You're trying to kind of manipulate them around to your way of thinking, and you can observe that in your own behavior. But control can also be subtle. Where are you in the moment? Or, if you catch yourself and you're having a conversation with your friend on the phone, are you fully engaged with what your friend is telling you, or are you thinking about how you are going to respond to her and what you're going to say, and then how is she going to take it and what is she going to say about it, and how are you going to respond to that? Or are you thinking in advance instead of just being present in the moment? That's an element of control. That's you trying to control instead of you being present. So it's the same frequency that exists in the external reflection for you. So your power, all the power that you have is in the now moment. You change your own frequency. That's where your power lies. And as you start to do that, as you alter your own frequency, as you let go of your judgment, all right, as you say, all right, I see this is my fear coming up. I'm going to reset myself. I'm just going to bring myself back to the present moment and fully engage. I'm choosing to be present. When you do that, you drop the fear, all right? You don't have to figure out necessarily why you have created all of that fear. You just have to realign with the new frequency, all right? And as you do that, you become empowered again, all right? When you're running fear programs, you're limiting your power. So if you want to create change in the world, start changing your internal programs, and that ripples out. As you start embodying being present, all right, and you're letting go of the fears, you're resonating at that level and making it easier for those around you to do the very same, because they can observe the frequency within you. As you then start to observe the world from this new vibrational state, remember it's going to be a reflection for your frequency. You're going to create circumstances that are in better alignment with unity and wholeness, or unity is a bit of a strange word, because you all think that in order to have unity, you're giving up your personal uniqueness. But really think of it more like you're putting yourselves in beautiful harmonies and creating these magnificent symphonies. All right? And the reason why you also get so upset when you look out at the world is that you also fear that you are going to have to suffer because the collective is making a choice that you are judging. I don't want this because it's going to hurt. It's going to be it's bad. It's going, to use your vernacular, it's going to suck. This is awful. All right? And really, it's understanding that you can stand in peace in the midst of chaos. It doesn't mean that you personally have to suffer. This is showing you where the collective is, where the collective needs to experience healing. And as you hold your own unique frequency, you then can be the way shower. You will always put yourself on a now moment in which you can have the greatest personal growth, but that you can also be of the greatest service to the collective. So if you can stand in peace in the midst of chaos, as you walk out into the chaos, you can show others how to stand in peace. You help to lift them up so you don't have to suffer. And that's a big pain point for you all, that you feel you have to suffer when you look at the collective. Know that it's perfect. What you see in your world is what needs healing, and that big drama happens to wake you all up. You haven't picked up the subtle signals. You haven't gotten it in your personal lives. You haven't seen it in the subtle examples, so you need the strong ones, because that initiates change. When you're uncomfortable, you all move. When you are feeling comfortable, most of you aren't inspired to change in any way. All right, so it's kind of a motivator, unfortunately, for you all. All right, so that's a very long-winded answer. There's a lot in there. So we hope that helps you all in some way.
Yes, and I know it may even have helped some of the other questions that we have coming in. Now let's shift this to our personal perspective. There are several questions that reflect a lot of personal pain, whether this is depression, a feeling of hopelessness, or feeling anxious, really wanting to stand in our destiny on the ascension. And then there's another who is feeling fear and anxiety. Can you share with us how, when we are in these vibrations, how we can adjust so that we can rise into those higher frequencies?
So this is where your daily practice becomes really, really important. And this is something that, we certainly have been discussing for the last several years. And we understand how challenging it is sometimes, because we've even had a challenge with Wendy, trying to get her to be more regular and with her own practice. And some of you are good at doing it once or even twice a day, but this is really about checking in much, much more frequently than that. Because what fifth dimensional existence really is creation in the moment. And if you're not aware of where you're vibrating, then you're creating all kinds of crazy stuff. So in order to do that, you have to learn to start reading subtle frequencies. You have to start being very, very present in the moment. Where am I vibrating? What's going on physically, emotionally, mentally? If you're someone who's feeling particularly depressed, grounding is going to be really important for you. And then just doing this exercise with putting yourself in your heart center. As simple and silly as it sounds, this is something that is actually quite potent. The steps that you all need to take, they're not elaborate. Some of them are common sense, but you're just not doing it enough. It's not regularly practiced multiple times a day. So, it's not complicated. It's really, really simple. You make it difficult in your mind. You make it complicated in your mind. So for grounding, it can be as simple as imagining yourself connecting to the core of Mother Earth, this beautiful, pristine light that exists within Mother Earth. So imagine this light that's entering through your crown. It's moving through every area of your body, down through your feet, down through the core of the earth, where this energy melds with Mother Earth. She's loving, she's kind, she's supportive, and you start to resonate with her heartbeat. She's got a pulse, and that pulse is keeping rhythm with the rest of the universe. And she is telling you what your natural rhythm should be. When you get really caught up in your electronics and you're not grounded, you start to entrain with the frequency of your electronics, and they are not in resonance with Mother Earth. If you're grounded, you're not entraining. In other words, your frequency isn't aligning. You're staying aligned with Mother Earth. And this is also why grounding is so important in today's society, because of your use of technology, and that frequency is not wholly in sync with Mother Earth. So the grounding becomes very, very important. And she's sending you this signal, and then as you meld your energy with hers, that energy comes back up and it infuses all the way through your body. All right? Goes back to the center of the galaxy where you share that information, that energy, with Source, and then it comes back down through you again. So you can do that kind of visualization. You can really do anything that puts focus on your body is going to help you to ground and connect, whether that's you kind of bouncing up and down or that's any visualization you want to do. Also, if you're someone who's depressed, work with the breath, all right? Breathe. We would say spend several minutes just breathing in a continuous cycle without holding at the top or the bottom. That's going to move a lot of energy, and even 2 minutes can do a lot. And 2 minutes is going to feel like forever if you're not used to breathing consciously, because it's a lot of energy. We call breath a great connector. So you physically are revitalizing the body, and energetically you're moving your field. So you can move a lot. If you feel emotional in the process, allow yourself to feel that, because that's what's stuck and needs to move. In order to release emotion, you have to feel it. How long you feel it, that's up to you. You can wallow in it. You can stay in that feeling state, or you can feel it, acknowledge it, thank it for being there, and allow it to keep on moving up and out. We just want to see here. So for those of you who are feeling depressed, depression is always disconnection. All right, disconnection from Source. You might feel alone. You might feel that you don't have a lot of physical community, meaning at the human level. There's nobody that you're feeling that you can connect with. You feel like you're different, that you're speaking a different language. When you start connecting within yourself to Source and with yourself, then your external world will also change. You're going to have more energy. You're going to want to engage, and you'll start drawing different people in. All right, we guarantee you, you're not alone. There are so many of you who have all of these amazing beliefs, all right, who are speaking the same language, but because you have all this fear of persecution, fear of not being safe, that you've cloaked yourselves, all right, you've hidden yourselves from each other. So as you ground, you actually start to feel safer in your body, and that allows you to turn your light on so others can see you. It's a big thing with all of you, those of you who are out-of-the-box thinkers. There have been many, many lifetimes of persecution, whether it was for your psychic abilities, or if it was because you were just simply different. You held a different belief than those that were in power. So grounding is such an important thing for you. All right, we know there was probably more there to that question, and we went off on a bit of a tangent. But you all have lots of tools in your toolbox. That's the other thing we want to talk about here. That music, it's wonderful that if you are so far in your mind and, you think, oh, I can't possibly think about, why I'm processing what I'm processing, put music on. Because it can help to transform you without having to engage the mind. Some of you are overthinkers, all right? You're worriers. You're trying to control. And it can be very hard to disengage the mind. Put music on that you know transforms you, that puts you into another space. That's a quick way to do that. Before we wrap later, we are going to do a language of light activation for you all that will help you to feel grounded and help you to open to more of your stellar community so that you can feel more supported and you can get more ideas and information to help you to move forward, things that might assist you along the way. All right?
Beautiful, because we have some questions coming in where people would like to know how we connect with our guides, with our spirit, with archangels in the other realms, or even channeling, how we can channel better through automatic writing or through speaking. So that would be wonderful when we get there. All right, another question, few questions coming in. What about those who are moving through heartache, where they close their heart down after ending a relationship, or they want to be clear on not repeating the same patterns? So share a little bit more about heartache and how we stay open to these higher frequencies and move past it so we don't repeat the same scenario.
Well, as we said, pain is perception. All right. So pain is a judgment that you've set up. And when you see how an experience has served you, such as being in a relationship and it not working out, when you see the service, that's when you release the pain. All right, you move out of the mind where the pain exists and you move into the heart where you see the service of all things. You see how and why, what you've learned about yourself. And when you go to that space and you start observing, you might look at a relationship and you might say, it's breaking my heart that I'm not with this person, but I can also see how we weren't a match. We weren't a vibrational match in this level, and that I want this, I want this thing over here that they don't want, and that's a big, important thing for me. All right? So, specifically when it comes to relationships, it's all about vibrational alignment. That you have to be reflecting so much of the same key issues, key points, in order to sustain the relationship. Again, relationships are a mirror for you. And if you are not, if you don't have enough points of connection, then the relationship is going to dissolve so that you can pull someone in who is a vibrational match for you. And really, again, the pain that gets set up for you for heartache is a belief that, one, you're separate. That's a big one. That's the core issue for all of you, that you're separate. You're separate from source. That's your core wound. And then when a relationship dissolves, you all feel alone, that you're unlovable, that you've been abandoned, or that there's something wrong with you. You've set up some judgment about you not being enough of something. And when you start to look at the relationship, what gets triggered in you when you think about it? What is the grief around? What is the belief that you're holding? You can ask yourself, my most negative thought that creates my heartache is, it could be I'm not lovable, or I'm always going to be alone. All right, and that gives you some clues about where you can start working. All right, what needs healing? And you can just flip it on its head. I'm always connected. All right, I am lovable. And then starting to feel that energy within yourself. I am connected. You know, we've already talked for a good 30 minutes already about feeling connected. So that one you've got. All right, grounding and imagining your connection with Source and feeling that love, that thing that puts a smile on your face. That's connection. And again, as you start running that actually opens your heart. So if you feel heartbreak, put yourself in your heart center. There are lots of videos on your internet that have lovely animals that make you all smile and laugh and make you feel warm. If you're in a particular funk, watch those, all right? That's going to help to open you back up. It's going to lift you, all right? And then you can continue working from there. Or if you feel that you're not enough, what a blessing that relationship was to show you how you were denying your own divine light. All right, have gratitude for that person being the mirror for that. Be grateful for that relationship and know that you will pull in other relationships to be a mirror for your vibrational state. All right, so as you then go into altering your frequency to where you want it, so if you were before thinking I'm not lovable and you want to work and heal that, you start working on loving yourself, you're going to pull in someone who's going to reflect that to you. So just know that it's all about vibrational alignment. It's not about one person being good or bad or worthy or not worthy. This is about vibrational alignment, and if a relationship dissolves, then it's not the one that you're supposed to be in. We will say this for you. If you are in a relationship, would like to create a relationship, it doesn't matter. Focus on the qualities that you want out of the relationship and not the person. That will help you to get some clarity. So that if you're in a relationship and you're not sure it's the right one, it will become obvious to you. And typically, if it's not the right relationship, if you're really focused on the qualities that you want, it will dissolve pretty effortlessly. Drama happens to get your attention when you're not paying attention. But if your focus is on what you want already, then you don't need the drama, and it won't happen. And that's why it will kind of dissolve pretty effortlessly. Meaning you won't feel triggered, you won't feel activated, and you'll have a wonderful conversation with your partner saying, you know, we're just not in the same space, and it will be easy. If you are in a relationship and it's the right one, then that's going to strengthen. You're going to find that those energies start to really amplify, all right? And then if you're not in one, then you can call one in, all right? So that's what we say about relationships.
Thank you. Beautiful. And I hope that answers Lloyd's question as well, who wanted to know about the physical sensations that we feel in our body when we are in our balanced energy. And that is simply it. It's that elated, uplifted feeling. Yes, in the higher frequencies. Before we go to a meditation that you're going to guide us on, do you have any advice for building community in the coming times? This comes up several times from our audience today. It's a big topic.
Yeah, so before that, we want to kind of go back very briefly to the question about seeing what you don't like in the world. All right, you see what's going on, you're not crazy about it. This goes to building community. What is it that you don't like, and how can you rectify it in your own life? So if you find that you don't like how people are treating each other in the government, how they're speaking, it's not kind, embody it now. Be it now. It's about you all stepping out, all right, out of your comfort zone for many of you, as sensitives, as intuitives. You all have in some ways a more challenging time as you become more aware of the subtle energies. There's a strange phase that you all go through where you're feeling a bit raw about it all. But as you start working with it, you'll find that you feel a bit more relaxed about the process. Where before, if you were feeling all that energy, you'd start aligning with it. So let us put this another way. When you reach out with your field and you're reading energy, what you hit first are everybody's illusionary energies. All right, you hit the outside of the field. You sense it, you read it, and there is a part of you that is in alignment with that. that you have those same beliefs in your system. I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving. And so when you read that energy, you resonate with it and you go into contraction because you think it's real. This is the strange phase that we're talking about, all right? You're reading that pretty easily. But what will happen is you release your own beliefs, all right, your own fears, your limiting beliefs. You will simply observe, all right, because you're not in resonance with it anymore. You're just fascinated by it. You're looking at it saying, oh, wow, I'm reading their field and I'm seeing they have a fear that they're not deserving, they're not lovable, and oh, look, they set this pattern up with their mother when they were 4 years old. You're reading it. You're not getting triggered and activated by it. And then you move beyond that and you start connecting with them at the divine level, all right, because you are resonating more with your divine self. You can start recognizing it in other people. This is what happens with subtle energy. So for now, we'd say start stepping out a bit more. So it's just about talking to people and saying, I'd like to get together. We'd like to create this support system. And it can be metaphysical things, and it can be something as simple as a club where you're doing things creatively that you like to do, whether that's gardening or whether that's playing chess or whether that is learning a new language. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You're finding a common activity to connect around. But it's you making a decision, getting involved with things, having conversations with people, and not judging their belief systems. Be very conscious of that, because what's happened is that you all have set up so many judgments. That's what's keeping you disconnected. That's what's making you feel that you can't connect in community, because you've got too many judgments within yourself running. When you start to let go of some of those, it feels easier to connect. And we would also say that grounding piece is a big piece there as well. If you're not feeling safe, you're not necessarily wanting to connect. All right, so it's just a matter of investing yourself. All right, try not to judge other people for not being as excited about connecting as you are. All right?
Yes, it's all through the heart, okay? And that comes through the heart. And I love your advice there that we are literally shifting operating systems, moving from the head into the heart. And so everything begins there. Thank you for this. And now, before we go to our phone callers, we have time for 2, maybe 3 phone callers. But first, let's do light language activation in our meditation.
All right, so there's nothing really for you all to do. Know that this will speak to you at the divine level. So, as we go here, there are several groups who are stepping forward who may be blending their energy with our own. So you might notice that the dialect of the language itself will alter, and that anything that you feel you want to do, if that's napping more over the next several days, that's fine. Make sure you're getting plenty of water. We always like to preface it with that, all right? So if you're sitting, if you can uncross your limbs, all right, feet flat on the floor, and take a nice deep breath. Hon ala perkata bi ikata ba ile ale kata ba ile ila la perkata ista ba ada ikata nda ai ikata ba perkata ba ile perkata ista ba ikata ya ma ara ibe kata ista ba ala perkata nda ista Ipta perkata amba ikata perkata nda ala kata ista amba ala ikrapta nda ala ai nda ala ita kista amba ita ista amba ala kata nda ista impta ai ikata impa ai ikata Impa kita ala perkata I perkata amba ala kita amba ala asta amba I kita ala perkata ista amba ala I perkata ista amba I kita anda ista. Take a nice deep breath. Oh ala perkata aba ikata ala perkata ista ala perkata inda ala kata ista ala perkata I perkata ista amba perkata inda ala ita aba ikata ala perkata I perkata amba apa kata apa kata amba ista I perkata ala perkata aba ila perkata ista perkata inda I perkata aba ila perkata ista imbra abita ala perkata ista amba perkata I perkata and take one more nice deep breath.
ona ala parkataista amba ala ta ala patanda ai kataista ala arkatanda ai kata apa ala arpata amba ala apa ai ta ala kata ala ai petaista amba ala parkataista ala la kataista amba taista ta ketaista ta kepataista impata apa ala rapatai la papatai kata amba apa kata parkatainda inda ala inda alaista amba kata inda aista amba rakatainda ala ta ala rakataista ala pataista amba tai onda ala onda ala ta amba aista anda kata, and take a final deep breath. All right, dear. So where would you like to go?
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I know many are reporting feeling the energies and loving those galactic light codes. Let's go to our phone line. We have time for a few calls. We are going to Macomb, Illinois, and it looks like the name Sandra is on the phone. Hello, you are unmuted. Last numbers of the phone number are 0916. Hello, Macomb, Illinois.
Oh?
And there's your voice. Hello.
Hello, Lauren. Hello, Peace. Hello, Wendy. Oh my gosh, I really do get to talk to you this time. Okay. Millions of questions. As you know, I've been flooding you with them. The main one, I guess, is the one that's coming through the most is about when, we're multidimensional and we talk about lower frequency and higher frequency and all of that mix. But really for all of us, it isn't so much hierarchical, is it? Is it more, you use the word differ a lot, and I like that a lot better. Is it more differ, as in we just have one level of frequency, you have another level? That's still hierarchical. I'm just wondering if it is more like that.
Well, in a sense, it is. The moment you enter into this universe, you have a hierarchical nature. All right, the dualistic nature of the universe means that at source level is unity consciousness, and then in all other dimensions there is a hierarchical structure. Now, higher isn't necessarily better; it's different. Our polarity, when you get up into the higher realms, is not as extreme, all right? So we have the extremes of light gray and medium light gray, where here you have black and white and 1,000 shades of gray in between. So for us, the frequency, it would be somewhat like music is structured in your dimension. You've got a C in one octave and then a C in another octave. All right, they're similar, they're not identical, but you give them kind of the same label, and it's the same thing in our dimension. We have a vibrational equivalent to your joy, for example. It's a different frequency, and it's experienced differently because we have different vehicles. All right, we're beings of light, and you've got your dense physical body, so it's interpreted differently, but we'd give it a similar label. All right. So in some ways they're different, but in some ways they're quite similar. So it has its own. Again, we would take you back to it being a C in one octave and a C in another. All right, you'd still call it a C. Does that help?
Yes, I was just wondering if that frequency of mine was masculine or female.
You're both.
Or both.
You are both by the nature of you being a universal being of light. Your true self is neither masculine nor feminine. You're inhabiting a polarized expression of that, all right? Whether you're in a male body or a female body. But each and every one of you has to run both masculine and feminine. Now, some of you may have a female body and run a lot of masculine energy through it. That seems to be the polarity that you're more comfortable with. what you were shown as a child and what you believed was the more potent or powerful, or what you aligned with and you wanted to explore, all right? Or maybe it was the feminine that you said, this is really what I want to run through this body. So it's in terms of the game itself that you came down and you wanted to play, you chose a polarity. You chose one over the other. You didn't come in balanced, and then you said, all right, let's see if we can balance it. All right? Does that make sense? Most of you are running more masculine energy because of how you're socially conditioned. Because masculine is what's valued on this planet right now, and it has been for thousands of years.
And that includes all of us women?
Well, yes, in many, many ways, because as women, in Western culture in particular, especially within the last 30 years, in order to really become an equal or be seen as an equal, not less than, you had to run more masculine traits, all right, to be a female in a man's world, all right, in the business world in any way. And for most, there was a belief that motherhood was not as valued from the external world. All right, it just wasn't as appreciated, and that's also altering and changing and seeing the importance and the value of that. That it's not less than anything else that's done in this world. It's actually quite special and it's quite important, as you all well know. But there is a belief that anything that has value is something that is external. It is something that is tangible, and that generally means masculine energy. All right, that's how it's been run collectively.
So are we then leading through this new Aquarian shift? Will it be more female, or are we going to be more integrated?
More integrated.
Like you see a lot of it integrated, isn't like you see a lot of androgyny on our planet now. Is that a reflection of a more integrated?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, because this isn't about the pendulum swinging all the way back to the feminine being the dominant. There were periods on this planet where the feminine absolutely was the dominant. And this is really about you finding more of a middle ground. It's appreciating the need for both, and that there will be those who will express something that is perhaps more feminine or more masculine in appearance or in daily qualities of expression. But again, when we talk about the integration of masculine and feminine, we're talking about through the process of creation, and that's more where that balance comes from. When you let go of your judgments, you let go of your polarized thoughts, you come back more to a unified, balanced level of masculine and feminine. All right, so you might find that, yes, you prefer to run a lot more feminine energy, but that also means that you have an appreciation and a willingness to exhibit the masculine as well. That's what you're going to see. It doesn't mean that it has to be straight down the middle androgyny. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Lauren. I'll go ahead and sign out now. Thank you, Peace.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Sandra. That question really helps a lot of people. I know others were asking about that, so thank you. Okay, let's move on for another phone caller. We're going to go to Redding, California. The last numbers of the phone number, 0571. You are unmuted. Hello, what's your name?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Oh, great. Hi. Thank you very much
What's your name?
for taking my call. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Kay. And
hi, Kay.
Hi. My question is, and I'm speaking for those of us who don't feel the energy when you talk about the energy shift and the power, the dimensionality of things that are changing. I'm also one of those who wakes up in the middle of the night chanting in a language I don't know. And it's like I want to believe, and there's a deep part of me that does, but my personality and my whatever the thought process is, and it's like there's this huge block of something that just is like I come up against it. Because I hear what you're saying, and there's a part of me that really knows it, and then there's this other part that's so disconnected. And what can we do? I mean, I can't be the only one who's struggling like this.
We lost a bit of your question there, dear. So can you summarize the question very briefly one more time?
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't be the only one who's struggling like this, who really believes and knows what you're saying is there's the truth of it, but I can't feel it. I don't feel the energies of the shifts, certainly not in my waking state. I think in my sleep state, I'm out there someplace, but daily it's a struggle.
So part of this is just shifting your perspective, all right? In some ways, some of it's become habit, that you're not looking for it. So by focusing on the small things, you can start to see them in bigger ways. There are several things that we would suggest that would help you. So, of course, the grounding, all right? You know, not to sound like a broken record, but it is so important for you all. The other thing we would say is set an intention for your day. What is it that you want to create? What is it that you want to experience? Before your feet touch the ground in the morning, all right, set an intention. It can be something as simple as, today I want to see if I can experience more excitement, more passion, more joy. It can be one thing, all right? Maybe it's just excitement. Maybe you want to see if you can, how many people that you can make smile, all right, or laugh. You can set any kind of intention for the day, but this is about consciously directing your energy. And for most of you, you're passively creating through your day. You're not actively creating, which is directing your energy. It means checking in. Where am I vibrating? What's going on physically, emotionally, mentally with me? That's you getting in the driver's seat as opposed to you going through your day and not observing any of it until it's 10 p.m. to say, oh, I had a crappy day. So this is about you making a decision about what it is that you want, and then throughout the day observing, have I experienced it so far? Have I done it? All right? And you also have to embody it. That's the other piece. So if you want to experience excitement, you have to feel the emotion first. You all get, in the process of creation, that thought creates form. Emotions drive it into being. And you create through thought and emotion. You forget that. And you think that emotions happen as a result out the emotion, it's getting reflected back and you're experiencing it. So you have to get into that first stage of creation. You have to imagine what it would feel like. So if you want to create excitement for your day, feel excitement in your body right now. We'd invite all of you to do that. What would it feel like to be excited in your body? And if the ego gets a bit busy, that inner critic says, well, I'm not excited. I'm in a lousy space. I don't feel inspired about anything, as that inner critic will. Then say to the inner critic, well, yes, we know that this is my current condition, but where or how would it feel if it were possible? And then imagine it. All right, that's a way of getting around the ego programming. What if I could feel this way? What would it feel like? If it were possible, what would it be like? And just use the imagination. All right? Embody that. Feel it moving. And then check in throughout your day. Am I experiencing it? Not yet. All right, well, let me embody it again. I'm going to take 2 minutes right now and imagine what that would feel like in my body. And then when you get to the end of your day, observe it again and say, all right, where today did I have it? Well, for 2 minutes, I felt excited about, my friend was giving me a compliment, and I was excited. It felt really great. acknowledge it where it shows up. All right, it can be really small. Maybe it's not that big opportunity you were hoping for, but you did get it in a small way. Have gratitude for that. And so that will help it to expand. And that's what will help to change your perspective when you're just not seeing it, you're not feeling it. When you're disconnected or you're vibrating at in alignment with some of those lower resonances, it's hard to read that subtle frequency. All right? So you have to start making that shift. We want to say one other thing here, and that many of you have this idea that something is wrong with you and has to be fixed. You say, well, I've got this block and I've got to fix it. For you, collectively, that means that there's something wrong with you. All right? You don't see yourself in a divinely perfect state that you are. And so you're constantly in a state of trying to fix yourself. So instead of trying to fix it, just align with the new frequency. All right? Sometimes it is important for you to have an awareness of what the belief was because you are so stubborn you won't drop it until it becomes a conscious awareness. But the more you align with the new frequency anyway, then the consciousness starts to come about to say, here's why I kept going back to that old pattern. I didn't think I was enough, or I set up this belief when I was 15 years old. But just start with it in the now by realigning with the frequency that you know you want. I want more joy. I want more happiness. I want more love, abundance. And keep working. And you're on the right track, dear. You're on the right track. But sometimes it's small steps. And those small steps add up. So don't think because it's not something big and huge that it doesn't have value, because it absolutely does. So just keep working those small steps.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Kay. Thanks for sharing your question. Oh, thank you. The P's, the collective, the Pleiadian Collective. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will let you share any last comments before we bring back Wendy.
Well, we would just continue to what we were saying here is that you all are so remarkably beautiful. You're already perfect. That which you're seeking to become, you already are. So it's just acknowledging that part of yourself. Mm-hmm. You've forgotten it. And the more you can acknowledge it, the more you'll see it reflected to you in your reality. There's nothing that you really have to change at the primal level of who you are. It's just letting go of the illusionary beliefs. It's releasing the illusion. And just making a choice. And sometimes it comes down to something as simple as that. It's just making the choice. I know where the old path leads. So in this now moment, I'm going to make a new one. As children, you were constantly excited about exploration of frequency because you had a new body and you didn't know how anything worked. And then as you got older, you got a bit nervous and you said, well, this is going to hurt, or I'm going to fail, and then I'm going to be judged, or I'm not going to be loved. And you created all of these reasons not to explore frequency. And so now we're trying to get you back to exploring frequency. That's all life is about exploration of frequency. Failure doesn't really exist. Failure is when your expectation of the experience of a now moment doesn't match what it was supposed to be like in your head. And by the way, it never does. And that sets up the pain program for you so that you won't try. So just know that it's all about exploring. We'll leave you with one last thought here, and this is about creativity. And we talked about control a bit earlier. For those of you who are particularly mental, and you have a very difficult time meditating because the mind is so busy, we would recommend that you spend 10 to 15 minutes every day doing something that is creative for the sake of being creative, for just exploring your creativity, without you feeling that you have to write a bestseller or paint to paint a masterpiece. It's just exploration. And when you start to do that, what happens is that you start to operate more in your heart center and the mind starts to quiet. So for those of you that have a particularly hard time with meditation, working with your creative process can help to quiet the mind, and it makes it easier for you then to start meditating. But this is something that we would encourage all of you to do on an absolute daily basis. You've got 10 to 15 minutes, all of you. And if you think it's a waste of time, then you're selling yourself short. You're really not allowing yourself to connect to source energy. You really need to make it a priority. And when you start to do, you'll notice that your life will start to shift. All right, so we'd like to encourage all of you to do that. It has been such a pleasure to have an opportunity to connect with you all. You all can connect with us directly. You don't need Wendy. Just simply put yourself in your heart center, ask your question, and listen. Trust yourself, and if you need confirmation, ask for it. We'll put it in your path until you get it or you no longer want it. And until then, we will be watching and waiting and sending many, many well wishes.
Oh, thank you so much, the Pleiadian Collective, the P's. You did answer many questions on those who really would love to stay connected with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here.
Our pleasure. Hello. Hi.
Wendy, hi. Such good inspiration and beautiful reminders that we should all explore the frequencies in a childlike way, that we are here to do that. And as we can raise ourselves, we raise everyone around us and the planet ourselves. Beautiful words today. Thank you. So, Wendy, this is amazing, and the P's always assist us in making the shift and getting stronger and stronger at it. And you have got a special offer that really does help us balance these aspects within ourselves so that we can restore and balance ourselves. Can you share a little bit about that before we say goodbye today?
Sure. So the first thing that is in the package is a program called Restoration, Learning to Nourish the Soul. And this is a new product. It's a new package that the P's recently gave me. And about a year and a half ago, they started working once again with me with these galactic light codes, and they're symbols that represent the language of light. When I first started channeling 20 years ago, they were giving them to me, and I worked with them for a couple of years, and then I kind of put them aside, and about a year and a half ago, they said, it's time again. So I've now created the galactic light code. So, instead of trying to figure out what we need, these codes actually help us to align with it. Instead of going through the head, we're working with the divine field to realign the field, our energetic field, so that we can simply start expressing those energies. And restoring ourselves and nurturing ourselves is one of the things that we really need to do, especially in today's society where we're so busy and crazy and we're just not taking time to work with ourselves, the feminine energy as well. And so that's what this is all about, and that has a galactic light code, a language of light activation, and channeling from the P's, and then a PDF that has some exercises and things that you can do to help nourish and restore yourself on a day-to-day basis. And then the next MP3 set is The Love of Your Life Is You, and really they talk about the ideas of relationship and kind of healing that old wound that we have, that somebody else has to be in our life in order for us to feel whole, and learning to love ourselves. And then Healing Relationships, The Miracle of Reflection is the next MP3. And that really talks about if you're in a difficult relationship, whether it's a friend or a family member or a partner, the other person doesn't have to change. Only we have to change in order to change the dynamic of the relationship. And so it's really learning to use the process of reflection, attraction and reflection, in order to shift our reality. And they talk quite a bit about attraction and reflection in that one. And then the last one is the integration of the divine masculine. So it's using both the feminine and the masculine, because I think in kind of the New Age society, the idea is getting back to the feminine and the divine feminine. While that's incredibly important, it's also important not to forget the divine masculine. So in that MP3, they discuss a little bit about what we talked about today, of integrating both of those things and using both of those energies. So we've got all of those MP3s, which I can't remember the exact number of hours, but I think it's probably around 8 hours, 10 hours of channeling.
Yes, great value there. Thank you. Full of great wisdom from higher dimensions, a higher dimensional frequency, and it's wisdom that really helps us elevate to that. Really great. That is available on the special offer button on this page, and we invite everyone to check that out. Wendy, so beautiful. Thank you so much for this. I have one last question for you before we say goodbye. Gabriel in Buenos Aires would like to know, can we say that the electrical energy is masculine and the magnetic is feminine? So our spirit is masculine and our soul feminine. Explain more on that or talk to that.
That probably would have been a better question for the P's, but what I'm hearing is that your spirit itself it's both. That it's not charged in that same way. They're just showing me that the electric and the magnetic are just different levels in the field itself. That each of our energetic levels is whole and complete in itself, and it has a dualistic counterpoint to it. That's a much bigger question, and really that's one for the to answer.
Okay, well, we will do that next time then. Thank you so much. Beautiful reminders and beautiful wisdom coming forth that we can use to help elevate ourselves on this ascension process. Wendy, so special to have you here again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Some folks have said the sound went silent there for a few moments, but I'm sure the replay will have all of that if anybody missed any part of that. So, Wendy, thank you for being here on Quantum Conversations.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and I just want to thank everyone and honor them for the journey that they're taking, and I really couldn't be here doing what I am without them. And, it's not always easy to walk this path, so I want to acknowledge that with everybody and for you for bringing all of this information to everyone. So thank you so much.
Oh, yes. Thank you, too. And everyone for really standing into this truth and embodying it and using it to assist our planet. I know everyone listening really feels that at a core level. So thank you, Wendy. Thanks for being here.